All right. Hey there, everybody. Good morning. We're live. We're on this camera. Hey, I don't have Ben here this morning. He's on a road trip. So it's me reading the chat, which I can do. I'm just not as fast, but we got it here. And I see we got America Marcy from the Ozarks. Good morning. Thanks for being here. If anybody wants to share work, then I would love to see it. I got a new email address set up that's in the description of the video, and that is share@muraljoe.com. So send your work. I want to see it. We can look at it, talk about it. You can just show it off. If you want to ask questions, you can ask questions. I set up an email so that it's easier to see, send a message, tell me some context. And so if anyone wants to share anything, I love looking at it. We could even put it into the old digital app and mess around with the colors if you want to do that. Open agenda this morning. Good morning, Frankie. Welcome. Good to have you here. I'm looking at your name just popped up on my feed. Tyler will probably be here soon. Tyler sent me this picture that he's working on. I got that opened up on my screen right now. This is one that Tyler's been doing. He is a busy painter. He really keeps up with doing projects. Very nice blue sky. I love the glow of the moon. That's real nice. I got a touch screen here. I'm gonna see if I can expand that. I love the glow on that moon. That's not a super well. I don't want to make it sound overly difficult, but this is well done because I don't see the overly greenish turquoise that happens so easily when you try to make a glow on something in a blue sky. So well done on that. Keeping the greens out of it really is the main goal when you're trying to get a moon to glow in a blue sky, or a sun to glow, or a cloud to glow. Really just keeping the greens out of it. And nice shadows on it. Looks, that could be a snowy bank, or it could be just the nighttime light on something. I really like the way that scene is. Very believable shadows coming down under those silhouettes. Nice feel. Good job, Tyler. I got another piece I want to show off here. I got some other work that's sent in. Again, I see a lot more names popping up. Good to see you here. Jules, we got Mavis. Welcome, Marcus and Frankie. I see you all on the chat. And everyone else who is not popping up on the comments, thank you very much for being with me this morning. I had said a little bit ago, my brother Ben is usually here helping me look through what everybody's saying, keeping me up to speed. But he's on a road trip, so we're going to let him relax. Things have been very busy in my neck of the woods. I've been painting aspen trees, tall aspen trees on a job. What am I trying to say? A commission job for a client here in my hometown here in Flagstaff. And I'm it's like a 25 foot, I don't know what it is in meters, I'm not too good at metric, but it's big square wall. I need scaffolding to get up on it. So we're painting big forest, very dramatic mural. And so, a topic that's kind of fresh on my mind is what do you do when you have to paint 1 million of something? That comes up a lot in paintings. Like I have to paint leaves all over the forest floor. How do you paint millions of leaves on a forest floor? How do you paint millions of grass blades, or so many aspen trees, or so many sage bushes, like the example last week, across a desert? You always need some kind of a trick because you don't have time to individually paint each one. So you need a brush technique that gives that look. Interesting topic. I won't keep talking and talking. Jonathan, thanks for being here, my friend. Good to see you. We got people popping up as we're waking up. This is my very first cup of coffee of the day. I apologize for having this while it's go time. I kind of rolled out of bed a little bit late. Okay. So I've got another picture I want to show you. We got a good one here. This one is from Marcy. And let me find the picture real quick. Let's see. Let's go to a different window. Look at these trees that Marcy did. These are very good. Okay, I'm going to go over here. I just have to brag on this because I think it's so well done. The gradients and shadows. So what I'm after when I'm painting trees is something that feels like you could go there, walk into it. People want an experience when they're looking at a wall mural. And I talk about the gradients and edges so much. Anyone that watches my videos regularly, you know I talk about gradients and edges. So very beautifully implemented here, Marcy. Great work. I just had to talk about it. So you can see very simple gradients that aren't loaded with detail, and here where it's maybe not finished. But then the lighter details are put on top of those in strategic places so that there are gradients that go from the darker, less colorful green, then to a mid-tone that's very colorful, and then adding white to that for the very outer, I'm going to say outer because it's the part that comes toward the viewer the most. And then I like how over here you can see it less blended on this, you know, a different brush technique for a different kind of tree. You can see it less blended, which is really interesting to look at because we see how when it's not blended at all, it does have a flattening effect. But then as soon as you start to blend the shadow to that mid-tone, it almost magically becomes 3D. This spot, you know, to me, this is, I can't zoom in anymore, but this is a spot where that really occurred. Well, you know, you just have a darker spot, but because of the way there's an edge, there's a gradient, there's a mid-tone, there's a highlight. Those ingredients just make it pop out so that we don't see a flat shape here. We see this part coming forward. We see this part behind because there's an edge here. And so the one with the gradient is going behind it. It's just, you know, I love looking at it, seeing the effect happen for somebody else. You know, I use it. I always feel like it's kind of the cheat code of painting is manipulating the gradients and edges to get 3D work. And it's done really well here. Good job, Marcy. I just wanted to say you did a great job with that. I like it. So what am I going to paint today? Ideas. Anybody ideas? I would love to see them. I'd love to see love dogs, avoid people. Happy midnight from Australia. All right. Thanks a lot. Good comment. I like it. Midnight in Australia. Wow. Thanks for watching from Australia. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. Hi from another Aussie. Oh, okay. We got two. We got another one. That's Cornea. Okay. Thank you. I hope I said that right. Cornea. I think I did okay on that one. Anyway, pleasure to have you here. I got to paint something. I got a workshop coming up, in-person workshop that is filling up quickly. I think that we passed 12 attendees. Now it can't be a large one because we have limited space here. So it'll get up to 15 is the max. So we got room for just a few more people. If anyone wants to jump in on that, just go to the front page of my website, muraljoe.com. And the sign up is that very first link right at the top center of the page. And you can join it right here in beautiful Flagstaff. The weather here in September, that's when the workshop is, September. It's a beautiful place to just hang out, enjoy nature, talk about painting, talk about art. We have a great time. And it's an annual thing so far, but I'm trying to work up to doing it more frequently. All right, Jonathan says, we all have the same problem. Showing us how you handle the million leaves problem would be great, even though Marcy showed us a bit already. Yeah, Marcy did a good job with that, didn't she? Yeah, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that, Jonathan. This is a great suggestion. Let's zoom in on the canvas. We're going to paint a million leaves on a forest floor, and we'll put some sunlight coming through them, because it's fresh on my mind because it's something I was doing. So we'll put a forest floor with leaves. We'll cast some light on it. And I'll keep turning back to my left. Bear with me while I don't have eyes on my left ear to look at the computer. We got my materials right here. And so we're talking about things that are good tricks. So here's a good trick, and I want to call it that because it's not the only way to do this. I'm just pulling this yellow off so I don't have to get confused. You know, these dry piles of paint, it's all water-based paint. It dries real fast and it peels off, but it tricks me. I go to dip my brush in dried paint and I'm like, oh, there's nothing on it. So, you know, I try to peel it every time. So we'll put yellow. We'll put yellow and purple on to start with. Yellow and purple are just great for getting a quick layer of earth on a picture because these two colors are unique. They you know, I like to find patterns that transfer across a lot of different colors, but this one is unique. It's the only one I know that does this particular thing. And so I'll show you exactly what we're talking about. We go to the canvas, we put some yellow. We're going to start painting just kind of like I do water, just strokes that are back and forth, but it's just one color on canvas. I'm just really distributing the thickness of it, which is something that matters. It makes a difference in the way the technique comes together for you. So it's thick enough, it's not going to dry very fast on me. Okay, there's purple. Now here's what is really cool about purple. I'll blend it a lot so you can see. This is just a study right here. Look how brown that gets in the mid-tone. So this is a real advantage having such a colorful mid-tone, because I talk about the absence of color in the middle all the time. With paint, that is typically the case, but with these two colors, yellow gets pretty good midtones. You know, with the blue, you'd get a great green midtone, of course. We've all done that. But this brown is great. You can see that instead of losing color where they blend, it actually gains color. This looks like the most colorful part. Well, in the browns, the yellow's pretty bright. Okay, so what this does is it allows me to not have to use a third color. It simplifies my palette. And then when I come to this with a white, which I'm going to do here, let's get some white on the palette. Let's put that white up there in the corner of my fancy schmancy tray. You get some white, put it on here. Well, now I lose the color in the highlight, of course, because I put this neutral white on it. I start blending that. So now I have just what I want. I have a colorful mid-tone with a pale highlight that looks like bits of reflection and glare on objects. And that's just what we want when we're doing like something that's got layers and translucency to it. We want the comparison of mid-tone to highlight to not drop out in the middle. Okay, so then if I put that light color across the dark also, again, the darkest color where it's mostly the purple is not as brown. It's the most brown in the middle. Okay, I've talked enough about that. I've talked enough. I just want to show you how handy that is in action. Now, and I'm leaning over to my left too. I think your camera is still on your screenshot. Oh, would it be? Oh no, I think I got it in the right place. Maybe it's not updating quick on the live stream. Where's the donuts? Right, I agree. Some donuts would be nice. Thank you, Marcy. All right. My first live, says Wendy. Thank you for being here, Wendy. It's great having you. Watched some of your videos to learn about painting water. Oh, fantastic. Recently finished my first serious painting in 40 years. Wow, congratulations. That's great work. I'm very happy to hear that. You know, there can be such, tension and pressure when you pick up blank canvas and you want to do artwork and you're thinking about trying to make it good enough. I hate that feeling. Is it going to be good enough? I hate that. So good job. Good job getting a piece done. All right, let's make some dirt. We're going to put purple on here. Then we're going to put yellow. And I'm making sure I don't spread it out super thin. So the yellow is going to be dispersed. Look how you can see some yellow, you can see some purple. It's the thickness of this that allows it to stay separated. So if you don't have, I'm going to zoom in the camera real close too, so that it's a little easier to see. Let's get way in here. The room that I'm working in is a little bit on the dark side, so hopefully we can see that. You can see that well. Yeah, you can see that. All right, we'll zoom way in. And when I put this dark primary purple color on, I do a few strokes. This is my favorite kind of brush stroke. I put the point of the brush like this. I pull it right, pull it left. That's the slow motion version. I think I painted so much water, I just default to that motion. This is the same motion I use for water. But I use it when I'm just applying, just spreading paint around. Okay, it's drying while I'm talking. Let's put yellow on top of that. And we're going to get millions of different. I think if you were technically measuring the number of colors on here, it's indefinite. That's why I say millions. It's another way of saying an indefinite number of different colors by mixing them on canvas, as opposed to pre-mixing a shadow color, pre-mixing a highlight color. All right, so now I've got these different tones. Let's grab the white while it's still wet. I've got it on just the corner of the brush. And I'm going to go for the bright spots, go for the yellow spots. Put it there, put it there. There's yellow, here's the yellow spots. And if I miss, that's okay. It's not serious, like we're allowed to make it messy. As a matter of fact, I think it looks better if I do. I'm just generally aiming for the already brightly colored spots so that I can add to those brightly colored spots this lighter, more pale color that's kind of like the glare that would happen whenever you have a little bit of reflection of a blue sky on otherwise brown, orange, earthy colors. Then you'll get a more pale, grayish color like that. Okay, so here we have this hitting the bright highlights. Now that causes this to be a lot more 3D, because where there's lightness, there's also a boost of color as it gets lighter. That's the yellow coming out of the purple, and that gives me three-dimensional illumination instead of something more flat where there isn't that boost of color. Okay, we'll go across the canvas, do a bunch of this, and then we'll add perspective to it. And maybe I can experiment with making it more or less. I'll mess with the ratio of purple to yellow. We'll do larger strokes down here. Here's my yellow. There we go. That one's I'm starting with more yellow. Then this one had a lot of the purple still left in it. This one went heavier on the yellow. I'm going to aim for my yellow spots. And it's that same brush stroke, just putting the corner down first, flattening the rest of the brush behind it. And as I get down to the bottom of the picture, I'm pulling the brush down and up a lot more than I will when I get up here at the horizon. That'll give me some three-dimensional perspective. Okay, as a general rule, I when I want to say this the right way. Yeah, I'm sure that you've all been told at some time or another, don't overwork it. So I just want to offer practical clarity to not overworking. For me, not overworking means maintaining the separation of my shapes. So as I do this technique, if I get real focused on the technique itself, trying to find all the perfect places, then I might put more brush strokes on than I otherwise would have. And the more I do, the more I lose the separation of shadow and highlight. So there is a point when it's time to stop. Let's see what happens if I go yellow first. And sometimes I'll do a patch like this with this technique. And it's time to stop, but it doesn't look great. And that's a problem. You know, that's called a redo. But I just want to let you know that that happens to me. Quantum physics, says American Mark. That must be context from early. Bennett. I see. Paint the like button if you like road trips. Ben is tripping today. He is indeed tripping. He's on a trip. Well said. Yeah, we don't have Ben, and we enjoy lots of deep philosophical conversation. It is the style of conversation of my family. I have 4 brothers. We would get together regularly, holidays, any opportunity, and it did get overdone. It'd have the tendency to make visitors uncomfortable. So at the season of life when we're bringing girlfriends and friends to family events, things did get uncomfortable for a lot. There's something you have to learn. We were slow to learn how to balance that tendency to say, I have the greatest thought right now and the world needs to hear it. Yeah, there's balance to be had. So today Ben's not here. I don't have anybody to bounce off of and think my ideas are better than they are. So we're going to stick with the paint, less with the philosophy. So we're going to go here. I do end up finding philosophical tie-ins because I can't just pretend like in my career as a creative, I have to have a way to manage the millions of creative thoughts that are just bouncing around in my mind. There is philosophical process to be had because there's things that need addressed. My mind can just spiral out of control if I don't try to manage. I guess I'm just talking about like intentional thought management. I'm sure that you can all relate to that. Okay, here my strokes are much more horizontal. And so this is like painting waves on water. And this is because this is further away. I'm going to get more perspective. They don't have to have this shape or this swoop. It's just what's natural and easy for me because I've done it a million times. And so I just want to default toward flatter, more, just squished more flat. So you can see I'm getting some perspective by doing this. Now I could experiment with making this more mixed versus less mixed. Right now it's just a texture. And I'm going to look for ideal spots to put more detailed leaves when I'm done with my base texture. So let's put purple. We'll speed up the process a little. We're going to do that. We're going to put some yellow in here. Let's put more yellow. And I'm just going to look for the bright spots again. Here we go. We've got You know, I think I mix it until I don't see 100% of either color anymore. I look for those spots that are 100%. So I think so much of this particular technique, when I find that it works for me, is when I get the timing right. All the timing seems to land where it needs to. The right amount of time spent on the yellow, on the purple. It's worth repetition. It's worth the trouble put into repetition. I would not predict that it would be a success the very first time you try it, because you have to put it down and then see what didn't go well, and then understand which part of the process needs to be calibrated according to that. It's like a it's very much a process, that I've put time into getting my timing just so to get it to work the way I want it to. Purple and yellow works over and over to get a good dirt floor. What's funny about this is I did it in 4 murals in this house, where they've hired me to do murals on multiple walls. And after doing it on those and having success, I decided on the large mural to use orange, black, and yellow. And what? I didn't even use the purple. It's just a way to do it. I still don't have it figured out exactly why I thought that was better. I really don't. But I think I wanted more color. I think I wanted to lean toward brighter color on this one, because it really, the one I'm currently working on, I wanted brighter yellows, brighter oranges. So I just started right out with those primary colors, the orange and the yellow. So this is a very similar result. I did a YouTube short on this same color combo, this same technique. You might be able to find that if you poke around on the channel. A recent post from that house that I'm working in. All right. Yeah, so we could get a very similar technique with orange, black, and yellow. Might be fun to just give that a shot here. Let's do it. While we're here, might as well toy around with how things work. Here, look. Orange, yellow. Let's get some black on the canvas. Let's put that here. So here's another approach. Same idea, different approach. So we'll go orange on this one, and then we'll come up here to the canvas, and we'll go here to this left side. Bright primary orange right here. It's not going to look the same. It'll look similar. Okay, the thickness, I'm being mindful of how heavy. You can see some beaded up fat brush strokes, but nothing really ready to drip off the canvas. Then I'm going to go to the yellow. I just want to remind everybody, send work into share@muraljoe.com. I established that email so I can put everything in one place. It's hard to sort through my normal email. joe@muraljoe.com is the ordinary email, but I have to sift through a lot of different kinds of emails to find ones pertaining to this. So share@muraljoe.com puts them in one place, makes life easier for me. So if you send it there, I've got it open. I'll look, and we can look at things on the live stream. Okay, orange, yellow, just like I did here. I got my 2 colors, but now I'm going to add black to the orange spots. So you can see that this technique is not as simple of a flow, but who knows, we might like the look better. I start by putting the black in the orange because the orange is the darker of the 2 colors. And so I'm just working with what's already happening on there. I'm putting a shadow into what's already more of the shadow color, and things naturally shift toward yellow. Typically, I'll just say usually, when they're illuminated, so we get that effect. There we go. Now we've got that. Let's put more black because I can see that we've got a very bright color in comparison. So I'm going to the already dark areas like this. Already dark areas, not being too careful with it, but if I go too much, it's going to get muddy. I'm losing there. That's about all I can do. I'm going to lose my separation of shapes. Now I go to the bright colors with the white right here, where all of the brighter, more orange colors. Let's boost up the yellow too while we're at it. A little more yellow. Okay. Now you can see here, I've spent a lot more time. You can see a different look happening where it's a result of having blended my brush strokes more by the time I get to the last step. So I'm not getting the nice separation. And this is a big challenge with this technique, and a reason that this one has the advantage because it's just two colors. Just two colors. You can be quick. You can manipulate the paint while it's wet. But this is a good example that it is not the only way to do it. Yeah, so I could go either way on this. Get a texture that's got a lot of different colors there. It is so much more red. That orange was bright, so I'd have to change the ratio to get it to blend in. But not important. We're going to leave that there. And we'll put a little bit more of our texture in place. Let's go back to the purple right here. I think it's easier to stay consistent with my colors on this one. There is a part of me that wants to do this again so I can make it match. I want to use different colors to get the same look. All right, let's put our yellow on there. Get more yellow. I'm getting down to the bottom of the canvas. All right, that looks good. Let's put white on top of the yellow. Any direction down here, low in the picture, it's like we're looking down at the ground. More so, pictures can have very different perspective set up. You might have a picture that's kind of like you just cropped out background and everything in the picture's background. That can be a beautiful layout for a picture. Nothing wrong with that. I tend toward a very wide view where there's so much difference between the foreground perspective and the background, because with large murals, that's just my comfort zone. With large murals, it tends to feel a lot more natural. The expectations when you walk up to a giant wall tend to be an expectation for a wider angle, is what you would call that. Wide angle view, where it feels like you're looking down when you look at the bottom of the picture. It feels like you're looking out when you look at the top of it. I'm going to go over to the right side and see what happens with that reddish color. Again, I want to give this a second try. Let's try combo number 2. Jules says it doesn't look like anything right now. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love it. I love the keeping me in check. Thank you. Doing a visual representation of the works of Shakespeare. Yeah, right. Right. What I want right now is perspective, and I want lights and shadows to not look fake. That, those are 2 big points of criteria. So this technique gets my shape perspective. The brush strokes are big down here, squished up here. And then the, what was I saying? And then the colors. Yeah, the colors was the other part. I get my shapes, I get my colors using this primary color technique. Causes the lights and shadows to, you'll see as I progress with it, they fall into place and look natural because they have the right ratio of darkness and color. Okay, I'm going heavier on the yellow on this one, heavier on the paint altogether, so that I can get a little bit more of this leafy look to it. Let's put more black, and that black is going to aim right for the orange spots. I'm just dragging the point of the brush through the orange areas. And then after I get that in there, I'm going to just start blending all through my midtones. And those are just going to be more brown because they have less black. See, I don't just randomly, when I see painters do techniques like this, I think I've seen people practice this where they randomly put, the texture is randomized, but there's a lot of value to be had in strategically placing each stroke with something that's easy to judge quickly so that you're not straining your brain. So just putting it on the bright spots, putting it on the dark spots, you know what I mean? That has served me well in my work. It's really helped me to get some textures on fast. Ah, there we go. This is starting to look a lot more similar to what I have on there. So I would say an advantage to this one is that, if I do it well, then I can get this real extreme contrast. This goes all the way from my bright primaries to my deep black. And so I'm carefully putting this where the color is. My white highlights, it leaves a little bit of color in between. I have this real wide diversity of values with this one. That's not just using the two colors. I'm using yellow, orange, black, and white, as opposed to just the purple, yellow, and white. So you can see, though, it's very similar. It just has these darker black patches that I might, it might matter, it might not. I did one mural with this method. I did another mural with this method. Those will be released sometime in the near future, and you'll be able to watch the whole thing, and you'll have good context for what I'm talking about. All right, so we've got that technique down here. We'll do just I don't want to bore everybody. We'll do a tiny bit more, and then we'll move on, because we want to have the look of leaves on this forest floor, and this is just no pun intended, this is the groundwork. We're getting the groundwork laid for the ground. Okay, I did intend the pun. Go like this. Okay, a bunch of real flat strokes up here, aiming for the more yellow spots. Much faster technique. Definitely like things that get me there faster. Purple, here's yellow. Let's mix those together. We got both colors. We're going to put the white on the more colorful, yellower parts. There's yellow. Like that. Here, let's get a little bit more in there. Okay. Here we go. This puts a relatively dark base. At least the way that I'm doing it by default here, just kind of my natural flow. It ends up coming out pretty dark, and that gives me lots of room to put sunlight in it. So now I'm going to mix some colors. We're going to make a highlight color, and we already got some down here. So we'll make a bright. We'll make shadow. They're going to be similar to these. They're actually going to be real similar to these, because we need a shadow and highlight color for the shadows, and then we'll use shadow and highlight color for the highlights. So that's a fun concept, isn't it? We need shadow and light in the shadow. We need shadow and light in the highlights. I'm forgetting what I'm doing. That's why I'm froze up here. Let's see. Let's go. Yellow. Now this is going to be the yellow leaves. We'll do yellow leaves because it's simple. And we'll put a little bit of orange in that yellow. And let's stir it up and get a teensy bit of black. Probably purple would be better. It'll darken it without eliminating as much color. Okay, we're darkening it a tiny bit. Yellow darkens pretty quick, so I'm being real careful with the amount of that I put in. This is going to be a highlight color intended for my shadow areas. Okay, let's go like this. I was just making more of it. That's what I'm doing. Let's put some purple in there. Gosh, I could have skipped the orange and just did the purple. That would have been fine. All right, there we go. Nice bright highlight. It'll be a real vivid color scheme. It's definitely not a dull color here. Let's put a little more purple. Dull it down a little more. Okay, this is going to be my shadow color right here for those same leaves. It has a lot more orange in it. When I do a shadow for yellow, I have to make sure I add plenty of red or orange, whatever you want to do, just making sure that making it darker doesn't make it greener. Unless you're specifically looking for green foliage, that's different. Okay, let's darken that one now too. We'll put, let's see what happens. We put so much orange, probably black will be fine. You can see the black leaning it toward green, but there's so much orange that's going to be okay. It's not going to be green. Okay. There's a shadow color. There's a light color. This will be good for our yellow leaves. And I can always bring in primaries to adjust these. It just speeds up my workflow if I can get those mixed ahead of time. And then, of course, for my bright ones, I'll shortcut. You know, I might pre-mix them in a big project, but having the primaries, I'll just go straight to a pure yellow, add white to it to get my brightest color possible where I'm working in the sunlight. So when I have a texture, here's a valuable thing. When I have a texture like this, I've given myself lots of shadows. And where I have lots of shadows, I can strategically put my leaves on top of shadows. So I go down here, I get some of this. I'll start with the darker color, add highlights to it. And so I may want to strategically put this just above a dark spot. See this dark spot right here? That's a dark spot. So I can go like that. Now, see, this has some three-dimensional quality to it because of where I put it. So I don't want to go so slow that I'm carefully looking for the next spot every time. But if I just have that on my mind, I think it's just going to naturally happen, especially if I put these over. If I just cover a light spot, there's likely to be a dark spot under it. So, you know, if I just aim for light spots, that's perhaps another approach to the same thing. But I'm not trying to do like paint by number where I'm putting these in exact places. So I'm going to scatter these. Now, gradients are powerful. They make things 3D. So I don't want to overdo this part. I'm going to put light coming from the right side like this. So I'll illuminate areas that are maybe like, if these are curling up, maybe I'll illuminate that left side like this. Well, I don't think that matters. You know, maybe when I'm in the direct sunlight, that'll matter more. But I'm just going to put little bits of brighter color on these, and I'm going to avoid blending it to a point that I don't see the gradient. When you first put a stroke on, there's a lot of gradient to it because it wipes pure color into another color. And the more you work at it, I'm just going to say you can lose that gradient. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to lose the gradient. Let's put a whole bunch of these on. Let's just put a bunch of little patches, and areas that I don't love the look of are great candidates for this. You know, great candidate locations. If I see a spot where I can put a leaf above a dark shadow, that's nice, but I'm not going to strain myself to make it happen. Let's put some of the brighter color on. This is all in the shadow. This is not to look like direct sunlight. These highlights I'm putting generally, I am trying to kind of put them toward the bottom because it adds a nice, it's just a trick to make my leaves look like they're more horizontal on a plane, is by making that front edge a little light. I wouldn't say that it's because it naturally occurs that way. It just sharpens that lower edge. It kind of makes it less possible to perceive it as being tipped up this way. All right. Let's put some big ones down in the front. Let's go like that. And put a lighter color gradient. Okay, now I can also come in with a little bit of white for a very gray, more reflective color. I'll mix white with this dark color. See that one? Okay, so this is similar to what I did on that base layer. And I'm just looking for spots that already have my color. I'm going to put a little dab of this. And it's not going on quite as easy because it's not as heavy. I got to mix a heavier pile of it here so I can really get it on the end of my brush, because I love when it just flows off. Okay, little bit of that lighter color, and that those three kinds of colors are powerful. It's a color that suggests reflective glare, color that suggests translucent light illumination, like any object getting lit has color coming from within that creates those bold midtones. So bold midtones, pale highlight, and then a believable shadow color. Those three kinds of color are great difference makers. Okay, we're going to put more of these in. Let's start making some leaves on top of leaves here. Like that. I'm going to make some areas a little thinner. All right, now if I want the sun passing through, let's put a ray of sun coming through. And we're going to go like this. We're going to brighten up. We've got this area, but I'm going to make it brighter where I want the sun patch to be. So I'll basically just do the same thing I did. And I'm thinking if I want to use the orange or the yellow, we'll try the yellow purple combo. I'm just going to do like a triangle stripe of sun glow that goes right through here. Now I'm being more strategic about where I put this. And so we're going to go like this, put the purple, but there's less purple. See, it's not as much. I think I am going to put orange because I want, for this lower layer, I want lots of that brighter color. Okay, this has so much less of the shadow in it. So this is going to be a ray of sun. We're going to take white, put it over that just like I did the first time. But now it's all going to be brighter, lighter because there's so much more yellow and orange in it. And that's going to create a bright sunlit area like this. I'm just matching my forest floor technique, but with lighter, brighter colors. There we go. Now, the goal is that looks like a sunlit strip, and then wherever I have leaves going across, so now I have this leaf texture. The importance of working dark is so that I can do this with the primary yellow. Let's take pure bright yellow, and we're going to put yellow leaves. The paint is wet, so it might steal some of my bright yellow. So we're going to try to lay it on gently so it doesn't mix with that still wet base coat. Putting bright yellow. It would be going on differently if I had let it dry like the rest, but it's okay, it's good. Okay, bright yellow leaves. And now white. So white becomes this color. This is that pale glare color. I added white to the shadow. Well, I don't have a dark shadow. I just have pure yellow. So pure white is going to make this very bright and illuminated. That little bit of, yellows, it's fantastic just how much white you can put in a yellow and still have it look like a colorful yellow glow. I love the intense brightness that I can get from that. Okay, so here's my sunlit patch coming through. So I've got the leaves going across, hitting the sun. And, if I want to get detailed, I might grab this is the highlight color from my premix right here. So I might strategically make that meet up with one here, like, oh, I want this to really look like it's a leaf that's halfway in the sun, But I don't want to accomplish the whole picture with this level of detail. I just, it might be a fun thing to add in when it starts becoming obvious to me what is what. All right, there we go. We made a sun ray through the forest. Let's make some more leaves. This time I'm going to put some orange down. Let's get some orange leaves in there. Pure orange. I'm going to put my shadow color. I just grabbed that pure orange. Now I'll get this shadow color. Put it right on top of that orange. We'll get a little bit different color leaves in there, like this. All right, let's get that highlight color that I had. Put that on top of those. It's all very messy, It's just a technique to suggest, because we're in the business of painting a million of something. So we're trying to take the thought of individual pieces out of it. Here's the final step, is where I mixed white with my shadow to get the glare color. And just putting that, in a few spots. It doesn't need to be all over. This looks like a leaf falling across, so that's a good spot to put that more pale gray color. See how, I just want to point out how that really stands apart. That kind of color, the grayer look of it over the bolder color, that looks deep, like light coming through something, and like you could go into that. And then the pale color just stays surface. It has a way of staying surface because I think we associate that with surface glare. Grayer color when it's in, when it's, what am I trying to say, nearby those other kinds of colors. Here's one where that just already kind of looks like a shadow, so I'm going to put my orange and shadow color on there just so that I can put a brighter color over the top, and then put my couple of highlights like that, just so I have a leaf on top of a leaf, So there's little opportunities that you maybe see along the way, but I wait for them to pop out at me. I don't like make a plan to try to tackle those. Okay, let's go through and cover this texture. We're going to put more leaves in here. Let's do some orange. Let's do some shadow color. We're doing big leaves now. We're down here in the foreground. We got big leaves. Big leaves. They're going to get smaller as they go back. And we're going to put that highlight color on them. There's one. There's one. Put that one on. Here's one. There. Okay, now the glare color. I'm just going to call it the glare color because that's, seems like an appropriate name. It's the pale, not saturated primary color, and that's just where we can make some edges popping up. I want to make sure that I don't use something too white because then it's hard to get highlights. It's not that it can't look good. If this was all I was painting, it might look fantastic, but I want to leave room for my highlights to really, really shine. So I do that. Right now, I might intentionally, some of these that look like something, instead of just like a paintbrush blob, I might intentionally work with those to bring them out. Like if a few items look real sharp, it helps all of the things in the picture. You know, imagination runs with it a lot easier, and it can actually make everything else just feel more realistic just by having a couple that have a lot of attention to them, have good detail. So I'll always strategically pick detail areas. All right, let's put more in there. We got lots of leaves. Let's put another sunny spot. Let's go like this. Put another sunny spot going right through there. That'll be fun. Here is some yellow. Here's some purple. Right here. Let's put a little more yellow and orange to brighten up the dirt. The orange will go kind of in between the purple and yellow. Okay, now my white. Okay, now I have brighter dirt, but I'm careful not to make it, what am I trying to say, too bright, too light, because my highlights, my bright yellow leaves, I want to stand apart. There, that's my sunlit lower layer. You got to try this pattern, you know, because it's something that you can trust. It's something that you can put together and trust, instead of, you know, as an artist, we want to just make sure from all the way from point A to B that everything looks on point. We want to manage the whole process, but when you have to do a whole bunch of something, it's easier on you to just find a process that you're like, yeah, it doesn't look great right now, but it's going to look just like I want it to in a little bit. There, I lightened it up, but I'm careful not to make it this light, because I want to make sure that my leaves that I put on it really match up. Let's put another one of those. Let's take we'll switch up the order. Let's put another ray going like that. We'll add some perspective to it, like so. Let's put another one in here. Let's really make some bright areas on this forest floor. The purple is going to darken that down for me, so I'll put some purple on the canvas. Little bits of purple, not too much, not as much as I did at first, because that was more shadowy, of course. All right, now we're going to put white. Smear it all together. Maybe a little more purple. We probably didn't put as much as we could have. Making some illuminated base layer. It always looks illuminated if, as it gets lighter, it also gets more colorful. You know, having both things. So in images, just lighter or just darker doesn't mean a lot. It doesn't automatically translate to light and shadow. It's a pattern of what it does as it gets lighter, what the color does as it gets lighter, what the color does as it gets darker. So when it increases in color as it gets lighter, and it's easy to not think of that when you maybe intuitively it feels like it's getting lighter, therefore it is more colorful, but not the case, because white is our lightest color, most definitely not colorful. I can hear the technical rebuttals to that when I'm just trying to stay in helpful zone right now. All right, there we go. We got some rays going back to a horizon. You know, my horizon needs to come up a little bit in order to be in harmony with that perspective. I have a little bit of a perspective problem, because the vanishing point is above horizon. That's an issue. So let's go ahead and raise it up a little bit, just because I'm that kind of a perfectionistic person. Let's put that in there. Let's put some white. We're going to do this. I got to reload my white. Oh, it's getting clogged up. Let's do that. Put this on here. Here we go. Let's get a higher horizon. Here, I don't really need a whole bunch of detailed shapes. We'll just raise it up. There we go. Now maybe as they come together, it'll all look closer. Generally speaking, you know, on what would be level ground. Things change if you're trying to make hills and vary the land, the lay of the land like that in your picture. But for my purposes, I just, you know, I want this to look like if I star this pattern out, then it's going to have the center on the horizon right there. So let's make some brighter ground coming through here, like this, like that, coming through there. There we go. Now the perspective kind of makes better sense. Like that. So when you have a pattern in place that can do, you know, they can do what you want, it becomes a lot more enjoyable to modify your picture. It's not a risk of ruining it every time you want to add something or take it away. It becomes more like building blocks. Okay, I haven't read the comments in a while. I'm leaning over to my left and I'm just looking while we're staring at the picture there. All right. Just scanning if we got any important topics to look at. Jules says it's going into a horizon where the sky shows. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we could add atmosphere color, more sky color as it gets further away. Thank you, Marcy. I do indeed use house paint. These are water-based, just like any acrylic paint, you know, but it's specifically wall paint. Works very well. Works good. It became my favorite. You know, working out of tubes is perfectly fine. It's a great way. I wouldn't shoot it down, but I just love the way the acrylic paint made for large surfaces, it flows out quickly. All right. So I'm going to put pure yellow leaves in the sunlight. This is the sun area. So this is where I can over lighten. I say over lighten because the white at this point is removing a lot of the color. And ideally I want to see a lot of color, but in paint, we have to compromise somewhere because we don't have the giant light spectrum that we can see in person. We're dealing with paints that don't glow. So I'm going to make like half of one of these leaves illuminated. See, I'll just put a bright spot on half of that leaf and maybe on half of this one. Like that, so that they're just little edges are catching the light maybe. Okay, then we'll go up in here. Do the same thing on this, bright yellow leaves. Like that. We're going to put pure white on top of that. And my size is going to change as it goes higher in the picture. I want those leaves to be smaller and squished more horizontally. I'm going to put some in this sun area. This is a classic example that I would label as two things telling the same story. The color of my yellow leaves is saying brighter light. The color of the base layer is saying brighter light. And when you get two layers so to speak, telling the same story, then it has a powerful lifelike effect in a picture. Okay, we're going to put little bits of yellow in here, little bits of yellow, because these are my sunny areas, so I might as well just go all the way to my horizon. Really get that to glow. We're going to make like a sunlit little magical area on our forest floor. Here, I'm not even thinking about what leaves are in what places. I'm just putting a whole bunch of white on top of the yellow, lots of little strokes. But that slight separation of the colors, because I'm working with the primaries and it's not just a solid, that it makes a world of difference visually, having that little bit of separation of values, so that the imagination can say there's a lot of little things in there. And then the rest of the picture tells the same story. Then we got a million leaves. Okay. Let's fill up our foreground a little bit. I'll zoom out. Let's see if we can finish out this picture. Let's put some shadows on here. Shadow color. This is my leaf shadow color. We'll add some orange to it in some spots. I just think it looks nice to have a little bit of diversity. So that little dab of orange is kind of fun. And we put our lighter yellow color on there for a gradient. I use that point of the brush a lot, to kind of carve out my straight edges. I swoop that long point of the brush to get those. Let's add some white to that color. And that really makes these leaves have kind of a curl to them. Oh, that one's kind of funny looking. We'll mess with that one a little more. Lots of leaves on the ground. I'm going to take this highlight color right here, that one that I said looked kind of funny. I'm going to take that highlight color, blend it. I'm going to take the darker shadow color, blend it right here. There we go. Now the gradient will make like a three-dimensional swoop to the leaf. If you just make half a lighter color of a circle, take a circle. This is way over on the edge, sorry. Let's zoom out a little. If we just take half of a circle, just go like this. Let's go like that. Look how it looks like a folded shape. I do this with leaves all the time. You just make half of it lighter. It's a three-dimensional folded shape. So you don't want to, you don't want to get caught up doing details where you're doing it because you have to, and it's not bringing you joy, and it's actually not making the picture better. I like to do this stuff first, and then decide where do details. Where's like the best place to put some details after I get this easier technique in place. All right, leaves on top of leaves. We're going to put more of these wherever I have that brown. Okay, and here is a spot that I don't have covered with leaves yet. Let's put some in there. I'll try to make them meet up if I see something, but it's not. I'm not going to make it important. I see a white spot there, so I'll put my yellow. This is my dark highlight color here. It's this one. So wherever a leaf goes from sunny spot to shady spot, I'll put some of that color right next to the white. And if you look at any one spot, it's just messy brush strokes. But when you back out and see the whole picture, it does a good job of giving the imagination what it needs to see a forest floor covered with these little leaves. Let's put some of that. I'm going to take a minute and check my email, see if anything is put in there for me. Let's put some orange in this too. I like those little bits of orange. You know, that orange makes a great shadow for the sunlit areas, just little bits underneath a bright yellow. It's a good shadow color for the real illuminated areas. Okay, let's put some in there. Yeah, there we go. See, now if we had a tree in here, well, the tree would of course be making a shadow, right? We would have a tree like right here, like that, and it'd be making that shadow. We'd see that coming across. Let's put some orange in there. Let's turn this to a tree. We don't want a green trunk. We're going to go like this. Zoom out. You can actually make the shadows first, you know, and then put the objects in there. All right, let's put some black and there. We'll get a much grayer color on the edge. So let's go like this, put some white. It's not going to stay white, but we'll create just a little bit of edge lighting, some gray glare, just like the grayer color on the leaves. The grayer color on the very edge of this trunk will make it look round. I'll put enough strokes on it to make it start blending with my dark color, but then stop before I lose the texture. There is a tipping point there. There, see how it kind of rounds it? It gets darker as it goes in. Get a rounded edge, but I don't want it to be so white. See, that's very white right there. Let's darken that one. I want to keep it dark. I don't want white. I was looking for a gray. Right there we are. Then I can just put my dark colors. Might look good if I do some purple and yellow. That's already in there. Let's see what that looks like. Those brown earthy colors. There's not a right color. You know, I want it to be dark. I want it to be brown. A lot of ways to do that. Here we go. Let's put some orange on my already light spots. I can see some spots that are already lighter. My already light spots. Let's go up this tree. I'm just letting my hand naturally shake as it does. Wow, it looks like it's got fire coming out of the middle of it now, that bright orange. That was more than I needed. That's funny. Very interesting. This picture just got very interesting. Here's more of the yellow. We'll go over the top of that, bring it back to a brown. Putting this lighter yellow color on the already lighter browns. See, that's important because I'm creating three-dimensional texture. It's going to bring the lighter color forward, keep the darker color back where it is, deeper. Okay, now, if needed, I can put some white. I don't feel like it's needed on that one, but look, if I mix a little bit of white into this and just dab that on some of these spots, it's that final little touch of that surface all the way to the surface color, suggests that we got something all the way out where it can be exposed to some lighter reflection from the surrounding environment. And then we can get this kind of deciduous tree, like oak tree texture, where it goes deeper and shallower. That depth is this, no matter where I'm making a texture, that depth is always created with that same thing as last week. It's created with that saturated primary color meeting the shadow, and then that saturated primary color meeting the highlight, and then adding that, if applicable, adding this grayer color to where I already have the light color, adding that on top of it. Okay, then we can put some bright light. Let's just go ahead and use our leaf colors to make a bright edge. We got sunlight here, obviously. We got a shadow being cast. So let's put a bright edge on this tree. Let's take the purple, put it in there so that we don't get, purple will definitely stop it from turning green. Adding yellow can turn green oftentimes. It's very frequently can turn green when you don't want green. So shading yellow with purple will, of course, stop that from happening. You can't have a purple green. That would be gray. Okay. We're going to put white right on top of this yellower color because I'm not looking for a yellow tree. I just want a real bright sunlit wood color. Right on top of those yellow areas that I just ran the purple through to get some shadows, putting the white on top of it. So you see, this really is the same strategy as the leaves. You can see me running through the same color application process, but whatever shapes you do, it's up to imagination to say, oh, that looks like a tree trunk, that looks like leaves. And you're just giving the imagination some light and shadow patterns that are familiar so that it doesn't look fake. And then that's the trick to painting so many of a thing that you don't have time to individually address, is getting this believable light shadow so that you have much less work to do. That's it. Let's bring this down on the edge of this root coming here. There we go. I added the color first, put some white over the top of it. Now I'll stop there. Let's see if we got something in the see if we got something in the inbox. I'm over looking at my computer. Hang on, I'm reading. And we'll go over here to the email too. Give me just a moment. In the email. We got lots of stuff. Let's look at it. Very good. Here's something from Mavis. Mavis has been working on this. And so she's got, let's see if there's a message with this too. We've got this one. Oh, Mavis uploaded this is a workshop. This is kind of fun. So it looks like one of the live streams, doesn't it? This was the in-person workshop from last year. We worked on sunlight, shadows, fire, flowers, rainbows, waterfalls. Man, we were all over the board on that workshop. This was the wall we kept going back to. You know, different textures, different materials. That was a lot of fun. There's like a lot of memories here. Bricks on a wall, little lizard on the rock. It's a blurry picture. Thanks for posting that, Mavis. That's fun. Memory. Oh, yeah. My heart jumped. The whole tree came together. All right, thanks. That was like a Bob Ross moment. Huh? Yeah, I remember saying, I wish I could do that, watching Bob Ross do it on Saturday mornings, putting the tree going through a nice background, big dark tree. That was it. That's my inspiration for that. Okay, we're going to look at some more pictures here. And we've got Mavis has this. Well, Mavis is down here. I'm going to get back to yours, Mavis. We've got some other pieces here. All right, let's see what Tyler's been working on. We got this helicopter, very cool. All right. And then we have the painting. Nice. Okay, sweet. I like that. Nice work, Tyler. That is cool. Okay, I want to look at your photo reference for a minute. Okay, nice. Okay, I'm just gonna, don't be mad at me for pointing this out. You did beautiful work with the shapes, colors, beautiful work. Uh, I wanna take this picture, okay, and I wanna lighten this color right here because this looks really nice, but I just want to show you how much more of a glow. Remember, I was saying when lightness and color together are telling the story, then you get a much more powerful result. So the only thing I'm going to suggest on this is that we lighten the, is that we lighten that, I could probably just open this locally instead of going to a different tab. Let's go to, we'll just open it online. Color app. Okay, we can go there and we'll go to draw mode. We're gonna import your picture. Still working on some glitches on this. Got some good feedback. And so, there's some things that'll get improved. Okay, here's Tyler's picture. We're gonna set that in the middle right here. And then I'm gonna zoom in on the sunset. I'm gonna grab a color that you've got in there, and then I'm gonna take that color and lighten it. So we'll go like this, lighter and yellower. Because when you go lighter, to get that glow, you usually want to go yellower. But we'll see what happens. Now I won't take the saturation. I could take the saturation here, but I don't want to cheat and use something on a computer that's not available with your paint. So I swatched this from your photo, so in order to like keep it in something that could realistically be achieved with paint, I'm going to do that. So then we're just going to start putting this lighter color in here. Let's put it around the sun. I'm going to be destroying a lot of your detail work. I apologize for that. Okay, let's do this. Get that light sun. There we go. We got your bright sun in the middle. Here, let me get that bright sun, and let's make it a little bit lighter. There we go. Restore the bright sun. I'm using my finger on my computer screen to do that. Okay, now I'm just going to use the smear tool right here, and I'm going to start pulling this out like this. Of course, this is going to have a very different look than natural paint, but I want to focus on the colors. Focus on the colors. The only thing I'm wanting to change is how light that is, because as the sun illuminates that sky, I've seen sunsets where the red is darker than the rest of the sky. I have seen that, so I'm not saying that anything is right or wrong here. I just want to show the difference it makes in the glow effect when you lighten that. You'll get a burst of light glowing. So your color is like on the money. It's beautiful color, but I would experiment with just trying to lighten your deepest orange spots. So let's go like this. Let's zoom out of this, and let's compare the before and after. So here it is with the deeper orange color, and all I did was lighten that orange to suggest that this atmosphere is being illuminated, not darkened, so that the orange doesn't look as much like paint, looks more like light. That's the reasoning there. Very cool picture. I love the purple, the blues, and the clouds. The shadows are amazing. Looks great. Yeah, Jules. Yeah, completely relate. You sometimes lose the saturation when you add white. Totally relate to that. All right, we're going to look at another one. I'm just flipping to the painting while I go back to the old inbox and see what else we got. We have got Tyler there, and Jonathan's got one to look at. Wow, Jonathan, did you really draw that, my friend? That is some intense detail work. Nice job. That is very cool. I like that. This is Jonathan's, and it looks like it's all pencil. Looks like it's pencil on paper, and I love the
gradients when I look at those rocks and mountains back there. So cool looking at the edges and gradients to create those shapes. Pencil is so challenging because you got those two things for the whole picture. You got the white of the paper and the gray of the pencil. That's all you got. Now, this is neat. Ah, I see. He's finding the lost sheep. This is Jesus. He's finding the lost sheep stuck in that thicket right there. All right, beautiful work. I like that. Now, this may or may not be applicable. May or may not be applicable here. But with two tones, your edges and gradients, just like I'm saying over and over, they're your most, well, just say a very powerful tool. So I'm going to download that one. We're going to do the same thing. We'll go here and reload this, and in draw mode, we'll import your file, put a new file on there. It's going to be Jonathan's picture. And I just want to show, set that image. You got to push that green set button for it to work. I want to show how a gradient can pull Jesus out of the bushes. That's out of context. That's a very funny. I heard those words come out of my mouth. If someone just went to this clip and just like did a audio snippet, the gradient can pull Jesus out of the bushes. Wow. Okay. But context is everything. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that blender tool, and I'm going to take because, I'm not going to do a good job with the details on this silly little digital practice thing, but I'm just going to pull your darker color up. I'm going to make it darker right in here, lighter. Let me pull that lighter color in here like this. I just want it to get gradually darker, just a gradient. So we're just going to shade this as it goes under. Let's pull some of that darker color down here. Okay. Just use some of that, shade it here, right there. Now, it's not just a value or a color. It's not just a shadow. It's gradient. It's lighter here. It gets darker as it goes back under those. So then look how that immediately comes forward out from under those. And so in this works because you already have the shadows. So then in here, we have his body behind the bush. So I'm just suggesting, what if we had a gray instead of, let's go a little bit lighter on that. Let's say it's maybe that lightness instead. What if we had this gray in here like that? Put some in there. Zoop, zoop, zoop. Gotta do the little zoop sounds. Do this. Yeah, let's fix that gray too. Make them all the same. Okay, we're making that go under the bush. This is just the background of what little bits of the body are showing here. Get the gradient. Okay, it's lighter as it comes this way. Lighter equals coming out. Okay, here we are. So just a very low detail representation of some three-dimensionality you could get with some gradients. I'm going to do a similar thing right here on this little sheep. We're going to put that darker color. We'll make this grayer. Let's go here. It's looking a little bit on the brown side, like we're working with the sepia tone. Let's go maybe right there. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit here. Look, just the gray on the edge creates a coming out of the bushes. Now, don't let me tell you how to do your art. This is, if applicable, or for anybody watching to see what techniques make what effects, just a visual what if, not saying that your art needs to have that, All right, there we go. So now in our picture, we have those things coming forward out of it. Those gradients are real powerful to use in that way. We can look at the, let's compare. Let's compare the before download and after download. Let's put that there. We've got no gradients. There we have the gradients. Just adds a little bit of three-dimensionality to it. Okay, Let's look at another one. Let's go in here and check out, what have we got? Let's close that one. Hang on. Close that. Oh yeah, this is the one we want to look at. Here we go. We've got Mavis next. We got cat whiskers. Let's look at, wait, we did Jonathan's. We got James. Let's look at the sagebrush. Mavis has been working on this. So this is a wall right here. Mavis has been working on a, oh, whoops, my bad. Sorry, not sharing the screen. Mavis has been working on a wall, and then this is the ground right here. This is the floor. And so it's pretty fun. The floor goes right into the wall. It's a nice illusion. So if I were doing the sage bushes on this, you know, real similar technique as the rest, I would go like this. I would do the old experiment in the color app. We go to the draw mode. You can just push the D on your computer and it'll go into that real quick. Okay, upload it. We'll get Mavis' picture. And let's set it right there. And we're going to just take some little tiny bits of a lighter grayer color. You know, it's going to be very gray. We're going to go to yellow. Let's get yellow and darken it. Dark gray yellow. Something like we'd have with paint. Hopefully this is going to make our distant sage color. Let's darken it. There we go. Ah, here we go. Okay, distant sage color. Let's put some in there, put some in here, put some in here. Just scribbling with my finger. You can dab with the brush, let it mix. Now let's get the smear tool and, oh, let's shrink that down. Okay. Okay, we're going to smear that color, smear that color. As you know, we're working with tiny little pixels. I'll zoom out in a minute. Yeah, that didn't work so good. My smear thing is not great at this level. Okay, let's put more of that in. We're going to zoom out. We got little highlights on the bushes. And then in the foreground, you know, let's put some of those little scribbles. We're going to do gradients. We'll put gradients in place. So we'll put blocks of color, just like I would with paint. And then we'll take the smear and just pull it down like this. Just smearing the bottom edge of it so that it has like a 3D. It's a very fiery color, but that's just because the digital mixing result is different than what paint would do. But we'll just focus on the gradients, the gradient effect. There we go. We get a 3D bush because of the gradients. And then, okay, you got a slope here, Mavis. And so this is where your picture could get a whole lot more 3D is if we take this and we can use your dark color right there. And let's start putting bushes growing off of this slope. We'll really scrunch them together. Okay, we're going to scrunch them together as they go around the backside of this slope. So here's an opportunity to make perspective tell the same thing as the rest of the story. So just like you scrunch things on a horizon, the slope kind of has its own 45-degree horizon here. See how I'm making those dark patches? They're real close together. We're going to space them out like this. Now we're going to make another one right there. We'll put another one right here. See how I'm spacing them apart now. This is going to give me a rounded slope effect. So then when I come in here with the highlight color, I'm going to grab some of this little color right there. Let's use that. Put some on top of this bush, some on top of that bush, some on top of that one, on top of that one, on top of that bush, this bush. Just going to put it on the top, systematically dabbing. With the brush, this is so much easier. You just dab it in and it makes nice little shapes while the black paint is still wet. Okay, now we blend. And so let's get that blender tool. And I'm just going to scribble across this middle area here, across this middle area here. Let's make the blender tool a A little bigger, get done faster. There. Okay, we're losing some. I need more of the light color. The dark color seems to dominate with that blender. Let's get more of the light color. Get lots of it. Lots of it. We don't want to lose that light color. Okay. Here we go. Blend that in, blend that in, blend this. There we go. Very messy work on my part. Okay. Like this. Okay, then we'll blend to the bottom edge of these bushes, put a little bit of a shadow in there. Like that. Boy, you have to forgive the messiest work ever. You know, it's a good opportunity to see where differences are actually made, though. You know, the details are not what makes something look natural or three-dimensional. Details like enhance how realistic something looks, I guess. I guess it's an enhancement. All right, there we go. There we go. That's enough to show the point. We got our bushes on there. And so the perspective here, I sloped the shadow, you know, because it's sloped ground. And I really squished them together along that edge. And so that in combination with those further ones, and then these further ones, you know, as I think that lightening the, but I feel like you've already done this to a large extent. This is a lighter colored shadow. If we take that color and lighten it a bit, gray it a little bit, make it a little more like that. That's not going to be dark enough. Let's go down there. Yeah, maybe right there. Let's put little bushes in there like this. So figuring out just the amount of lightness that you need for your shadows is a big deal when it comes to perspective. You know, that you can really get something to appear more distant by getting that shadow just the right lightness. There we go. See how that lighter shadow. Let's make these further away by lightening the shadow. Let's go like this. Make it a little more on the yellow side. There we go. Put this in here, lighten that, lighten that. Now the color all by itself, without any perspective or shaping, just the grayness of that shadow will make those appear more distant. I'm not saying that's the right color. I'm not saying that's the right value. Just the fact that it is less black than these foreground shadows makes a difference. So fine-tuning the value there is also a big difference maker. Great work with the perspective on this, Mavis. Beautiful work on that. That road looks so 3D and rounded. It really, like this swoop, I love the way that swoop looks. Well done. Very good. And I like your distant horizontal strokes, just like we were practicing dirt in the last live stream. Looks very much like it. All right, let's see another. Great work. Thanks for sharing that, Mavis. We're going to go here and open up another one. Frankie has one. Frankie has one that we can look at. Beautiful waterfall, Frankie. I like this waterfall. And look at the colors in that. That one looks like it's washing down debris, and you know, like maybe that one has, you can see some of the, maybe you can see some of the lake color and a river color, whatever you want to call it, as it's washing down. Good transparency effect in that. Really beautiful. I like that. All right, so my only suggestion on this one is leave room for gradients in the light colors, because once you get all the way to your lightest color, once you get all the way to the lightest one, then you can't get the 3D effect very easily anymore. So just like these rocks go almost to a pure white. If your rocks were like darker colors to start with, like in this, you know, I was starting with the darker color. That's all I want to point out about that difference, is just the starting point, keeping things dark until you get to those final little highlights. it leaves you more opportunity to put three-dimensional looking effects in there. So you could get a lot of three-dimensionality to your gravel, to your stones by having the mid-tones in there. That could be a big difference maker. These rocks could be done just like similar to the leaves, where you're putting the white over the top of a pre-existing mid-tone, and some of it is in there. Like, I think you can really see that effect in here. I can really see it in here where the highlight is put on a spot that already has a mid-tone. That really makes it pop out and look nice. It is great work. I love this. This color looks like deep, clear water. That gray color. Nicely done on that one. Let's see, is there anything anything that we could do? It's kind of fun to download it and poke at it. You know, I getting to like this process here. Let's reload it, hit the draw button, and we're going to upload your work. We're going to put it in there right here. Let's set it in there. And I just want to demonstrate what I'm talking about. Again, this is not saying what your picture should look like, what should be done, none of that. I just want to show what I'm referring to. So I'm going to assume that your I'm not going to use a super bright white. Instead, I'm going to start darkening some things. So let's take this, because I don't want to put things on here that aren't possible to achieve with paint. So let's take that color, darken it like this. Okay, then I'm going to go in here and start making this waterfall. Let's make the line a little skinnier. Wherever it's falling down here on my real vertical areas, but I'm going to leave it where it looks like it's kind of hitting a surface and bumping, you know, splashing on top. I'm going to leave the light colors there. So we'll make this a little darker, make this a little darker, make this a little darker. Okay, now I like the way this looks. See that? To me, that immediately made that look better. Let's use that color. I guess for demonstration, I'll cheat and make it interesting that that's like shade of green. All right, we're going to use that. It's not wrong for it to be. You got a green forest, you know, a light gray green is a good effect. Okay, you put that light color. So that's all I'm talking about is the magic of seeing that little bit of, you know, maybe it's some overhead reflection, just hitting the top wherever that fall is facing up toward any little bit of brighter skylight. It gives you opportunity to do that. And then just like a wave, you know, I love these colorful spots in the middle of it. Those are cool. I like how you did that. Because just like a wave, we see more of that color where it tips down toward us. So yeah, I just want to say that I really like that. Yeah, we just throw those colors in there and you get a little bit more shimmer on your waterfall. Sorry, I just bumped the HTMI button there. I wonder what would happen if we did like another gradient in here. Like you could do your reflection gradient. You know, let's take this and even darken it a bit because you got all that tree reflection. Let's go like this. And let's put this at the top of the fall like that. And then it's where it tips down toward us that we see all the color beneath the water. But at the top, there's typically more reflection. Now, I didn't see whatever reference you were going off of. So again, I don't want to be presumptuous and say this is how it should look. I just want to see what happens. All right, there we go. Like that, and then maybe we can put a few little splashes in there. Let's go like this. Take that and just make it like it's kind of splashing over the edge a little bit, maybe. That might be fun. I'm just kind of dabbing my finger at it. There you go. See that? See how it kind of emerges out because of that gray color? It's just like the Jesus gradient. You need context for that comment, but you know, if you were watching earlier, that's it's like that. We'll put some of that in there. I like that color. That's cool. This is a neat waterfall picture because I really like those underwater colors that are in it. Those are cool. Okay, just some experimenting. I think that could add a lot to your picture. And then the rocks. I'll just show you what I mean real quick. Let's just take a mid-tone. We're in this one right now. Let's go darker. You know, maybe like this, maybe grayer. Just something in between your dark black and those colors. So let's take that mid-tone, maybe greener. Let's go over here. There's a mid-tone. Let's go darker. Darker. Okay, now I'm going to put this in between. Anywhere I see highlight, I'm just going to put that above the shadow, under the highlight, above the shadow, under the highlight, just systematically going through. Just, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I kind of just blocked out my, there. Don't want to block out the shadow. I just want to put this in between, and then we'll zoom out and see the effect. You know, you got so many rocks. This is similar to our current study. It's like when you have so many of something to paint, it's nice to just have like a go-to technique to accomplish it. So I'm just dabbing that everywhere I see a lower part of a highlight and upper part of a shadow, in between shadow and highlight. And I just want you to see how the color in between the pale white, and I see you do have a lot of beautiful mid-tone in here. So I'm just increasing it. That's all I'm doing. Okay, there we go. See the effect that immediately has. And of course, it's messy. I don't, you know, it's not a good job with the gradients. We could see if there's a, you know, we could see if it kind of improves it if I smear these a little bit. You know, use that smear tool. But it's getting rid of the highlights. We don't want to do that. Yeah, we get the idea. There. Just getting rid of the unnatural looking hard edges. A little bit of gradient. It can be as quick as, you know, a stroke of a brush can accomplish that. So when I zoom out, you can get a texture on your rocks that gives it a bit more than the, it's hard to get three-dimensional with just two tones. So it's an idea, nothing more than an idea. I hope that helps. Man, beautiful work with your foliage, the details and gradients in that foliage. That's a place I want to hang out. I'd love to go there. All right, let's look at another one. Thanks a lot for sharing that. Let's see, what else do we got? I hit a wrong button there. Hang on. All right, that one was from Frankie. Thank you, Frankie. That was beautiful. All right. We have more in here. I'm not going to get to all of them. We'll make this one the last one. We'll save the others for the next one. I got started watching your videos, Color Theory, years ago. Now I really enjoy the live streams. You and your brother. Oh, sorry, my brother's not here. He would like to hear that. Never share my work, but I'm interested in what you think of this apocalypse style painting of a cloud city and God that is very upset with them. Oh, let's check it out. Okay, that sounds nice and dramatic. Like the idea. Boom, right there. Apocalyptic city and angry God. Nice. I like it. I like it. Beautiful start. Okay, so I would approach that perspective is super cool in there. I really like that. Neat perspective. And that's this floating cloud. Okay, as white mixes, when you layer white, I can see that white is layered on this. And perhaps this is in progress, right? So don't take anything I say as a correction or telling you what should be done. Something I see is when you have color between your white. So there's always a decrease of color when you layer white over something that stops it from looking like natural glow. So I always have to add color to the white to get the glow, and then if I'm doing layer technique like this, I have to do a color layer, then a white layer inside of it. So let me show you what I mean. This looks like a picture where you really want the natural glow to pop. And I just want to show how I would approach really getting that to be a home run. So you go over here and we'll put that in there. We're going to put this in. Let's just set that image here. Zoom in. Okay. Now, do you see how this color, if we swatch this color, look at the top bar when I use this color. See where the gray is? Oh, let me display that. Okay, that's the color I just swatched. This is how gray it is. This is how dark or light it is. And of course, left to right is on the rainbow. So we're like somewhere in here, and you're at this gray level. All right, now when I go to this one here, if I swatch this color, between the white and the color, use that one, bumps way up here on the gray scale. And so you could have the same lightness but bump the color up. So let's bump the color up and then the lightness down, or the grayness down, so that this now has a lot more color in it. My intent is that it's at the same brightness level it was. Let's see what happens when I put that on there. So there's something that has more color. And so when you have that more colorful in between, the way you get that is by doing a layer of real light color before you do a layer of pure white, because the pure white washes out. Or you can blend it. You can do blending too. But I think with this technique, an approach could be just putting a layer, all the same places where you have the white. And a shortcut too is first doing the white exactly as you've done, and then just doing a transparent layer of gold color over it. All right, so let's make this look more illuminated. We're going to take this and put it everywhere that we have that. I'm going to move it a little bit more toward the yellow right there. So what's different about this color, obviously, is that it's more colorful, and I'm putting it in place of specifically this tone. Just wherever I see that tone, that's where it's replacing it. Okay, we're going to put it in there, put it in here, put it in here. Here, let's put it up here, right there. Okay, and then let's make sure that we repair the white that I destroyed. Let's take your pure white right there, and you had a line kind of going across here, maybe across there. Forgive me for messing up the work. We just want to see that glow effect. So now we're going to get more of this one here. Let's make the line a little bigger, get the work done faster. Put that under here, like this. Go here, put that in there, some of this. Okay, let's blend it. The blender tool, this is the fun tool right here. We're going to blend that, blend that, blend this, blend this right there. Now this is not the way that you would accomplish this, of course. I'm belaboring the point, but I don't want you to like, well, yeah, that's easy to do on your digital app. It's not the same as painting. No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. Just layering. The white will shine through a layer that you put on there. It'll shine through it. So you can take this and you can put a colorful gold layer, and it doesn't even have to be a light color. You can do a deep gold, and if it's real watered down, then it will just tint all your white, and it'll look so much more like glowing light, and that'll be a real dynamic effect. Like that. All I'm trying to do is just blend this. That's all I'm doing right now. Just softening that and trying to maintain the white while I'm at it. Here, let's use that. Make that thing nice. We got some lines here like this. I'm just going to fake the lines because I don't remember where they were for the K. All right. There we go. I'm zooming out so that you can see that just the effect when it's got that halo of color as opposed to the halo of gray. We have something that looks like it's glowing with light because it's not losing color as it transitions to the darker shade. That's all. So you could do that same thing with all this. But it doesn't mean it's the effect that you want to have. It's just for when you want to have that effect. I kind of like the way the pale look is around there. It gives it like the edge reflection color. This would be a good reflection color that gives this like a three-dimensional look. You know, you could try it both ways. I wonder what it would look like if we took this color and intensified it. Let's go way over here. Let's just take the gray out of it. Just like this. Curious. This is just curiosity. Just messing with your picture. I just want to see what it would look like if I did that. Let's smear that in like this. Your gradient edges are now colorful. Like that. You know, it's something. It makes it more of an illuminated edge rather than a reflecting edge. When the color starts disappearing, it's a reflecting edge. When the color starts increasing, it's an illuminated edge. If I were to try to pin it down with, just to be clear about what I'm talking about. Hey, this is really awesome work. Jeremy, very awesome work. I like it. Great job. I'd love to see the finish. All right, I'm just going to show these. I'm out of time. I just want to show these off. Beautiful work. I'm not going to burden you with suggestions, but that is beautiful work from Jennifer there. Did I read that name right? I'm going to make sure that I get this right. That was from Jennifer. Has got this beautiful helicopter. That flag looks like it's floating in the air. It's got ripples in it. It's got light shining through it. Awesome work. Looks so good. I like your light rays coming across the bush. Amazing. That shadow, cool shadow. I like that. And that grass, so 3D. Boy, you could teach us all how to do some nice looking grass. That is beautiful work. Okay, that's Jennifer. And then we got the storm moving in from Wendy. Whoa, nice work, Wendy. Amazing waves just piling up, running down those rocks. Great work with the foam. This is a tricky thing to do, getting the light and shadow of the foam itself. Well done. You've got not just one color coming out of your blue waves. You got two colors. Well, you know, you got a shadow and a light visible in your turquoise water. You got a shadow and light visible in the foam. It makes it all very 3D. It's very nice work. I like how you did that. Now, some of these, I can't resist saying it, you know, some of these rocks, you could color them more like you colored this. See how the rock has got that watercolor? So some of these rocks that are really surrounded, you can color them more of the gray turquoise color. And it really makes them look like they're like in that foam, and as opposed to, you know, just like these do. You did a great job here. The way you did that shadow color is beautiful. That looks so deep in 3D. You can do the same thing on the rocks, and it makes them look like they're sunk down into that foam instead of just like sometimes hard contrast can make it more 2D. And these look so good with the water flowing over. Nice work. I love it. You did great work with that. Okay, that's all we have time for today. That was work from Wendy. We got through a lot of it. So I think we got through all of those. But if I missed your work, then we're going to do this again next week. We'll have a lot of fun. I hope that ends up being helpful. My picture looks better when you don't look at it for a while, doesn't it? Everyone's does. This is how it goes. The instant reaction is so different than the reaction of seeing it be built. So you have to remind yourself of that as the artist. When you're building it, you have to give yourself lots of slack to see all the brushstrokes and all of the details that don't look like your vision. Because when you come back to it and your initial reaction puts together the information, it fills in so much of the blanks that were there as you were creating. So, I just see that instantly. I'm like, hey, my work looks better. I've been staring at something else. I looked at it at a glance. I instantly see what that is. But we all saw it in its messy form. We all know that it's just a bunch of brush strokes piled up strategically. That's all it is. Very good hanging out with you all. We're out of time. I appreciate you hanging with me. Good seeing all the familiar names out there. We had a good time this morning, just scanning for the last bits of comments, making sure I didn't miss something important. All right. If you want to be one of the last ones to sign up for that workshop, we're going to be working hard on clouds and water on September 22nd. That's when it starts, and you can sign up for that front page of my website. But there's only room for a few more. I'm going to have to cut it off. So just a fair warning. I can't let it get overfilled. I'd have to disappoint some people that I don't want to. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to go camping again. We're headed out to the lake. You guys enjoy it.